Murder is a habit. We all went to bed early that night. Miss Johnson had appeared at dinner and had behaved more or less as usual. She had, however, a sort of a dazed look, and once or twice quite failed to take what other people had said to her. But ये लाई हुई थी मुझे पता लगा मिस जॉनसन को पता लग गया. It wasn't somehow a very comfortable sort of a meal, you'd say, I suppose, and that was natural enough in a house where there had been a funeral that day. Death हुई है. But I know what I mean. Lately, for but for all that, there had been a feeling of comradeship. There had been sympathy with Dr. Leidner in his grief and a fellow feeling of being all in the same boat amongst the others. But tonight I was reminded of my first meal there when Mrs. Mercado had washed me, and there had been that curious feeling as though something might snap in. I felt the same thing, only very much intensified, when we sat about the dining room table with Pyro at the head of it. Tonight it was particularly strong. Everyone was on the edge, jumpy, or on tenterhooks. सब लोग डरे हुए थे. If anyone had dropped something, I'm sure somebody would have screamed. As I say, we all separated early afterwards. I went to bed almost at once. The last thing as I was dropping off to sleep was Mrs. Mercado's voice saying good night to Miss Johnson just outside my door. I dropped off to sleep at once, tired by my exhaustions and even bored by my silly experience in Mrs. Leidner's room. Mrs. Leidner के रूम का experience तुम्हें याद है ना? I slept heavily and dreamlessly for several hours. I woke when I did awake at the start and a feeling of impending catastrophe. Some sound had woken me, and as I sat up in bed listening, I heard it again. An awful sort of agonized choking groan. I lit my candle and was out of the bed in a twinkling. I snatched up a torch, too, in case the candle should blow out. I closed off my door and stood listening. I knew the sound wasn't far away. It came again from the room immediately next to mine, Miss Johnson's room. Miss Johnson गई मामा. उनका कत्ल होने वाला. I hurried in. Miss Johnson was lying in bed, her whole body contorted in agony. As I set down the candle and bent over her, her lips moved and she tried to speak. But only an awful hoarse whisper came. I saw that the corners of her mouth and the skin of her chin were burnt with greyish white. Her eyes went from me to a glass that lay on the floor, evidently where it had dropped from her hand. मिस जॉनसन ने कुछ पिया है. उन्होंने पानी की जगह कुछ एसिड वैसिड डाल दिया होगा जो देखते हैं. The light rug was stained in bright red where it had fallen. I picked it up and ran a finger over the inside, drawing back my hand with sharp exclamation. Then I examined the inside of the poor woman's mouth. There wasn't the least doubt what was the matter. Somehow or the other, intentionally otherwise, she had swallowed a quantity of corrosive acid, oxalic or hydrochloric, I suspected. I ran out and called Dr. Leidner and he woke all the others and we worked over her for all that were worth, and all the time I had an awful feeling it was no good. We tried a strong solution of carbonate of soda and followed it with olive oil. To ease the pain, I gave her a hypodermic morphine sulfate. David Armert had gone off to Hasana to fetch Dr. Rayleigh, but before he came, it was over. I won't delve over the details. Poisoning by a strong solution of hydrochloric acid, which is what it proved to be, is one of the most painful deaths possible. It was when I was bending over her to give her the morphia that she made one ghastly effort to speak. It was a horrible strangled whisper when it came. The window, she said. Nurse, the window. Amma, Amma, उसने विंडो की तरफ इशारा किया. And that was all. She couldn't go on. She collapsed completely. I shall never forget that night. The arrival of Dr. Rayleigh, the arrival of Captain Maitland, and finally the dawn with Don Hercule Poirot. He it was it was who took me gently by the arm and steered me into the dining room, where he made me sit down and have a cup of good strong tea. There, mon fan said, "That is better. You're worn out." Upon that, I burst into tears. It was awful, I sobbed. It's been like a nightmare. Such awful suffering in her eyes. Oh, Mr. Pyro, her eyes. He patted me on the shoulder. The woman couldn't have been kinder. Yes, yes, do not think of it. You did all you could. It was one of the corrosive acids. It was a strong solution of hydrochloric acid. The stuff they use in the pots? Yes, Miss Johnson probably drank it off before she was fully awake. That is, unless she took it on purpose. Oh, Mr. Pyro, that was an awful idea. It is a possibility after all. What do you think? I considered for a moment and then shook my head decisively. I don't believe it. I won't believe it for a moment. I hesitated and then said, I think she found out something yesterday afternoon. What is that you say? She found out something? I repeated to him the curious conversation we had together. Pyro gave a soft low whistle. La pauvre femme, he said. She said she wanted to think it over her. That is what signed her death warrant. If she had only spoken out then, at once, he said. Tell me again her exact words. I repeated them. She saw how someone could have come in from outside without any of you knowing. Come, monsieur, let us go up to the roof and you shall show me where she was standing. We went up to the roof together and I showed Pyro the exact spot where Miss Johnson had stood. Amma, sun rahi ho? Like this, said Poirot. Now what do I see? I see half the courtyard and the archway and the doors of the drawing office and the photographic room and the laboratory. Was there anyone in the courtyard? Father Levigny was just going towards the archway and Mr. Wright was standing in the door of the photographic room. And I still do not in the least how anyone could come in from outside. None of you could know about it. But she saw. He gave it up last and shaking her head. Sacre mom the ancien va. What did she see? The sun was just rising. The whole eastern sky was a riot of rose and orange and pale pearly grey. What a beautiful sunrise, said Poirot gently. The river wound away to the left, and the Tell stood up outlined in gold color. To the south were the blossoming trees and the peaceful cultivation. The water wheel groaned in the distance. A faint, unearthly sound in the north were the slender minarets and clustery, fairy whiteness of Hassanah. It was all incredibly beautiful, and then close at my elbow, I heard Pyro give a long, deep sigh. Fool that I have been, he murmured, when the truth is so clear, so clear. पायरो को भी पता लग गया. पता वही है. आई थिंक मुझे लग रहा है डॉक्टर लाइडनर ने ही मारा है ना. ऊपर जाके पता लगा. ये कल पढ़े. ओके चलो.